What if the person you humiliate today turns out to be someone you'll beg for help tomorrow? Stick with me till the end of this story. You won't believe who showed up in that black SUV the next day. And hey, before we start, make sure to like this video and subscribe to Kindness Tales Live, where real stories remind us that kindness is priceless. It was a rainy Friday evening in downtown Chicago. The golden lights of Maison Leclerc, the city's most exclusive restaurant, shimmered through the drizzle like a promise of luxury and warmth. Inside, chandeliers sparkled over white tablecloths and violin music floated softly through the air. But just outside those glass doors stood Alicia Monroe, shivering slightly under her umbrella, adjusting the collar of her modest navy blue coat. She had saved for months to afford this dinner, a celebration of her promotion at the architectural firm where she'd worked tirelessly for 6 years. As she stepped inside, the warmth and scent of truffle butter wrapped around her. She smiled politely at the hostess, a young woman with sleek hair and a perfect white smile. "Reservation for Monroe, Alicia Monroe," she said. The hostess's eyes flickered over her, from her natural curls to her worn handbag, and then to the reservation list. "I'm sorry," the hostess replied, voice sugary sweet but cold underneath. "We actually have a private event tonight. Members only." Alicia frowned, confused. "That's strange. I confirmed my reservation this morning." She pulled out her phone, showing the confirmation email, but the hostess didn't even look. "Ma'am," she said curtly, "perhaps there's been a misunderstanding. This isn't the kind of place for casual dining." Heads turned. Whispering spread like wildfire through the tables near the entrance. Alicia felt her face flush hot, her throat tightening. "Casual?" she repeated, trying to stay composed. "I'm here to celebrate my promotion. I've worked hard for this." "Security," the hostess interrupted sharply. "Please escort this lady out." Within seconds, a large man in a black suit appeared beside her. "Ma'am, we need you to leave." Alicia's voice trembled. "You're making a mistake. I booked," but the guard had already opened the door, rain splattering at her feet. Her dignity cracked as she saw people watching, some pitying, some smirking. A man in a tailored suit whispered, "She probably can't afford it anyway." Tears stung her eyes as she stepped into the cold rain. "I can't believe this," she murmured, clutching her purse. The door closed behind her, shutting her out, not just from the restaurant, but from the respect she thought she had earned in this world. That night, Alicia sat in her small apartment, staring at the takeout box she'd ordered after getting home. Her phone buzzed with a text from her best friend, Maya. "How was the dinner?" "Send pics." Alicia stared at the screen, then simply replied, "Didn't go as planned." The next morning, the incident went viral. Someone had recorded the scene. The hostess turning her away, the laughter, the rain. It spread across social media with the caption, "Black woman denied entry at luxury restaurant despite reservation." Comments poured in, anger, sympathy, outrage. Some recognized her. Others demanded justice. But Alicia didn't want pity. She just wanted respect. Then, something unexpected happened. Around noon, as she prepared to head to work, she heard a low hum outside her building, the sound of an engine. She looked through her window and froze. A sleek black SUV had pulled up across the street. The tinted window rolled down slowly, revealing a man in a crisp gray suit with a look of quiet authority. He gestured for her to come outside. Alicia hesitated, heart pounding. Who was he? A reporter? A lawyer, or something else entirely? "Miss Monroe?" the man called out politely when she stepped closer. "My employer saw what happened to you last night. He'd like to meet you, personally." "Your employer?" she asked, confusion and suspicion mingling in her tone. "Yes," he said, opening the car door for her. "He owns Maison Leclerc." Alicia's breath caught. The very restaurant that humiliated her? Why would he want to meet her now? She took a deep breath, glanced at the SUV, and stepped forward. Whatever waited inside would change her life forever. The black SUV's leather interior smelled faintly of cedar and expensive cologne. Alicia sat stiffly in the back seat, her hands clasped together as the city blurred past the rain-streaked windows. The man who had introduced himself as Marcus sat across from her, calm and composed, occasionally glancing at his phone. "You said your employer owns Maison Leclerc?" she finally asked, her voice steady but filled with curiosity. Marcus nodded. Yes, ma'am, Mr. Laurent, he saw what happened online last night. He wasn't happy about it. In fact, he was furious. Alicia blinked in surprise. Furious at me? No, Marcus said quickly, shaking his head. At his staff. He built that restaurant to celebrate diversity and fine dining, not to humiliate people. When he saw how you were treated, he knew he had to make it right. The car slowed to a stop outside a tall glass building overlooking Lake Michigan. It wasn't the restaurant. It was something grander, modern, and quiet. Marcus opened the door for her. Mr. Laurent is waiting inside. Alicia hesitated for a moment, looking down at her simple outfit. Jeans, a sweater, sneakers. I'm not exactly dressed for a meeting like this, she murmured. Marcus smiled reassuringly. You're perfectly fine, Miss Monroe. Trust me. Inside, a receptionist greeted them warmly, and within minutes, Alicia found herself standing before a set of double doors. When Marcus pushed them open, she stepped into an office lined with art and soft light. Behind a large oak desk stood a tall man in his 50s, salt and pepper hair and kind eyes that didn't match his powerful presence. Miss Monroe, he said, walking around the desk and extending his hand. I'm Elliot Laurent. Thank you for coming on such short notice. Alicia shook his hand, unsure what to say. I didn't expect this. I imagine you didn't expect a lot of things last night, Laurent said softly. I owe you a personal apology. What happened to you was unacceptable. You made a reservation. You did nothing wrong, and yet you were treated like you didn't belong. Alicia looked down, trying to mask the ache in her chest. I just wanted to celebrate my promotion. I worked hard for it. But for a few minutes in that lobby, I felt like I was invisible again. Laurent nodded slowly. You shouldn't have been. That's not what my restaurant stands for. The hostess and security guard responsible have been suspended pending investigation. But more importantly, he paused, studying her. I want to make this right for you. Alicia frowned. What do you mean? He smiled slightly, walking toward the window. Tell me, Miss Monroe, what's your dream? My dream? Yes, outside of last night's mess, what do you want for your life? She hesitated. I've always wanted to open my own design studio. I'm an architect. I love creating spaces where people feel included, not judged. Laurent turned to her, intrigued. That's beautiful. He picked up a file from his desk. Do you know why I asked Marcus to bring you here? She shook her head. Because your story moved me. You reminded me of my late wife. She was an architect too, and a fighter for equality. I lost her 3 years ago. She always told me, Elliot, you can't change the whole world, but you can change someone's world. He looked her in the eyes. So, Miss Monroe, I'd like to help fund your dream. Alicia's eyes widened. What? He slid the folder across the desk. Inside were documents, a proposal for a grant signed in his name. A $50,000 startup grant, he said. No strings attached. Use it to build your own firm, your own space, in a place where everyone belongs. Alicia's lips trembled. You don't even know me. I know enough, Laurent said warmly. I know integrity when I see it. You didn't yell, didn't threaten, didn't seek revenge online. You just wanted dignity. That tells me all I need to know. Tears welled in Alicia's eyes as she covered her mouth. I don't know how to thank you, Laurent smiled. You just did. By reminding me what my wife stood for. For the first time since that awful night, Alicia's heart felt light again. Maybe pain had a purpose. Maybe every humiliation had a door waiting to open on the other side, if you had the courage to knock. As she stepped out of the office, the city felt different, brighter, bigger, possible again. But just as the SUV pulled away, Marcus glanced at her through the rearview mirror. Miss Monroe, he said carefully, there's something else Mr. Laurent wanted me to tell you. Alicia turned. What's that? Marcus's eyes softened. Last night wasn't a random mistake. Someone called ahead to have your reservation removed. Alicia's stomach dropped. What? Who would? Marcus met her gaze in the mirror. That's what we're about to find out. Alicia couldn't shake Marcus's words from her mind. Someone called ahead to remove your reservation. The phrase echoed like a haunting melody as the SUV glided through the city traffic. She stared out the window, watching people rush along the sidewalks. carefree, unaware that her world had just tilted on its axis. "Do you have any idea who it might be?" Marcus asked carefully, glancing at her in the mirror. Alicia shook her head slowly. "No, I can't think of anyone who'd do something like that." But even as she said it, a faint unease crept into her chest. No one? Maybe not no one. Back at her apartment, she sat on the couch, staring at her phone. She opened her messages, scrolling through her contacts. Her co-workers had all congratulated her when she got her promotion, all except one, Clara Jennings. Clara was talented, ambitious, and charming when she wanted to be. But Alicia had always sensed something beneath her polite smiles, a quiet resentment. They'd both been up for the same position, and Alicia got it. The next day, Clara had congratulated her through clenched teeth. Could she really have gone that far? Before Alicia could dwell on it, her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "We need to talk. Meet me tonight at the cafe on 5th Avenue. 7 p.m. No name, no context. Just those words. Alicia hesitated, unsure if she should go. But curiosity, and in something deeper, maybe the need for closure, pulled her in. When she arrived, the cafe was quiet, bathed in warm golden light. She scanned the room until her eyes landed on someone sitting in the corner. It was Clara. Her blonde hair was perfectly styled, her expression unreadable. As Alicia approached, Clara looked up from her coffee and offered a faint smile. "You came." "I almost didn't," Alicia said flatly, sitting across from her. "What do you want?" Clara sighed, stirring her drink. "I assume you've already spoken with Mr. Laurent. Congratulations on that, by the way. Quite the twist of fate." Alicia narrowed her eyes. "You sound like you already know what happened." "Oh, I do," Clara said smoothly. "You see, when the video went viral, I recognized the restaurant. I go there often. I even recognized the hostess. It wasn't hard to put the pieces together." Alicia's pulse quickened. "Clara, did you call them?" Clara leaned back in her chair, her tone dripping with false innocence. "I might have mentioned your name to the manager that afternoon. Told her you were, well, not their typical clientele. I didn't think they'd actually throw you out. But clearly they did." Alicia's jaw dropped. "You sabotaged my dinner?" Clara shrugged lightly. "Let's just say I didn't think you deserved that promotion. You're good, Alicia, but you're not me. And maybe for once life agreed." Alicia's voice shook. "You humiliated me in front of strangers for a job?" Clara's eyes hardened. "For fairness. For the spot you took, that should have been mine." A wave of anger surged through Alicia's chest, but she took a slow breath, refusing to let rage take over. "You know what's funny?" she said, standing up. "You thought you were ruining me, but what you did gave me a new beginning. A man you'll probably never meet just funded my dream. So thank you, Clara, for showing me how ugly jealousy looks up close." Clara's expression faltered for the first time. "You're lying." Alicia smiled faintly. "Check tomorrow's news. You'll see." Without another word, Alicia turned and walked out of the cafe, her heart pounding. The night air felt crisp, freeing. For the first time in days, she felt power. Not the kind that comes from revenge, but from grace. As she reached the corner, Marcus's SUV rolled up beside her. "I take it you found your answer?" he asked, lowering the window. Alicia nodded. "I did, and I'm done letting people like her define me." Marcus smiled approvingly. "Mr. Laurent will be glad to hear that. He actually asked me to deliver something else to you." He handed her a small white envelope. Alicia opened it carefully. Inside was an elegant invitation card embossed with gold letters. "Maison Leclerc cordially invites Alicia Monroe to a private dinner in her honor, hosted by Elliot Laurent." Her breath caught. The restaurant that once rejected her was now opening its doors just for her. As the SUV pulled away, Alicia looked back at the cafe fading into the distance. She whispered softly, "This time I walk through those doors with my head high." The night of the dinner arrived faster than Alicia expected. She stood in front of her mirror, smoothing the elegant emerald dress she'd rented for the evening. Simple but graceful. Her curls framed her face like a crown. Gone was the nervous woman who'd been humiliated in that same restaurant just days ago. Tonight, she walked in as someone who had faced the storm and survived it. Marcus arrived right on time, greeting her with a warm smile. "You look stunning, Miss Monroe. Mr. Laurent will be proud." "Thank you." she said softly, clutching her small silver clutch. I just hope I can hold it together tonight. As the black SUV glided through the city, Alicia watched the skyline glitter outside. It was strange, how the same city that had broken her heart could also lift it back up. When they arrived at Maison Leclerc, the golden doors stood open, the staff lined up in neat rows. The same hostess from that humiliating night was there, her face pale, her posture stiff with guilt. As Alicia stepped out, every eye turned toward her, but this time the whispers were replaced by murmurs of respect. "Welcome, Miss Monroe," the hostess said softly, her voice trembling. "On behalf of the restaurant, I'd like to personally apologize for what happened." Alicia looked at her, then offered a gentle nod. "Thank you. We all make mistakes. What matters is what we do after them." The hostess blinked, clearly surprised by her grace. Alicia walked past her, chin high, her heels echoing on the marble floor. The chandeliers seemed to shine brighter tonight. At the center of the grand dining room stood a beautifully set table, surrounded by a few guests, reporters, business leaders, and of course Elliot Laurent, who greeted her with open arms. "Ah, Miss Monroe," he said with a broad smile. "The woman of the evening," Alicia smiled warmly. "Thank you for this, Mr. Laurent. You didn't have to." "I did," he interrupted gently. "Because the world needs to see what dignity and perseverance look like. Your story has already touched thousands online. But tonight," he raised his glass, "it becomes something bigger." As dinner began, the room filled with laughter, music, and soft conversation. Alicia found herself sitting beside journalists asking about her architectural dreams, community leaders offering collaborations, and investors curious about her upcoming firm. For the first time in her life, people weren't just listening, they were hearing her. Halfway through the dinner, Laurent stood and tapped his glass. The chatter hushed instantly. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, "I invited you here tonight not just to enjoy a meal, but to witness a moment of justice and growth. A few nights ago, this woman, Miss Alicia Monroe, was turned away from this very restaurant because of someone else's prejudice. But instead of anger, she chose grace. Instead of revenge, she chose forgiveness. That," he paused, "is true class." The guests applauded warmly, and Alicia felt tears welling up. She wasn't used to the spotlight, but this time it felt deserved. Laurent smiled proudly. "And as of tonight, I'm officially partnering with Alicia's new design studio, Monroe Spaces. Together, we'll be developing inclusive community centers across Chicago, spaces built by her, inspired by her, and dedicated to her belief that everyone deserves to belong." The applause grew louder. Cameras flashed. Alicia's heart swelled with emotion as she stood and gave a small, humble bow. "Thank you," she said, her voice thick with tears, "for believing in me, for seeing me." As she sat down, Marcus leaned toward her. "You did it," Alicia smiled. "No, we did. Because someone believed kindness still mattered." Just as dessert was being served, Laurent's assistant approached him, whispering something into his ear. Laurent's expression shifted and from calm to serious. He glanced at Alicia, then nodded slowly. "What is it?" she asked, concerned. Laurent sighed softly. "Miss Monroe, there's someone waiting outside who wishes to speak with you." "Who?" He gave her a knowing look. "Clara Jennings." Alicia froze. "Here, tonight?" "Yes," Laurent replied. "She says she needs to apologize publicly." The entire room seemed to fade for a moment as Alicia's heart pounded. The same woman who had betrayed her, standing outside wanting forgiveness. Marcus whispered, "Do you want to see her?" "You don't have to." Alicia looked down at her hands, then took a deep breath. "No, I need to. Some things are meant to be faced, not avoided." As she rose from her seat and walked toward the doors, every eye followed her. The night that had once broken her spirit was about to bring it full circle. Alicia stepped through the grand double doors into the quiet lobby. The laughter and music from the dining room faded behind her. Standing near the entrance, dressed in a black blazer and looking nothing like her usual confident self, was Clara Jennings. For a moment, neither woman spoke. The soft hum of the city outside filled the silence between them. Clara looked nervous, her hands trembling as she clutched her purse. "Alicia," she said finally, her voice small. "Thank you for agreeing to see me." Alicia crossed her arms lightly. "You didn't leave me much of a choice showing up here." "I know," Clara admitted. I had to face you. I've been thinking about what I did and—" her voice cracked. "I hate the person I became that day." Alicia watched her carefully. "So what changed?" Clara swallowed hard. "After the video went viral, my boss found out. I've been suspended. I lost clients. People I thought were friends won't even look at me. I deserve all of it, but seeing you tonight, being honored here, it hit me. You didn't just rise above it, you turned it into something beautiful. I wanted to be the one people respected, but it's you. You're the one everyone's talking about, the one making a difference." For a second, Alicia almost felt pity. Clara's face, once proud and polished, now looked tired, human. "I came here to say I'm sorry," Clara continued, her eyes glistening. "Truly. What I did was cruel and ugly. You didn't deserve it. I let jealousy ruin me." Alicia stood quietly, her heart torn between anger and compassion. "You hurt me deeply," she said at last. "Not just by ruining my night, but by reminding me how small people can be when they see someone else win. But I also know what it's like to carry shame. So I accept your apology. But forgiveness doesn't mean friendship." Clara nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. "I understand, I just needed you to hear it." Alicia took a slow breath. "I hope you learn from it, because you have talent, Clara. You could have used it to lift people up. Maybe it's not too late to start." For the first time, Clara smiled faintly, fragile, but real. "Maybe you're right." She extended her hand. Alicia hesitated, then shook it, not as friends, but as two women closing a painful chapter. As Clara turned to leave, Marcus appeared by the doorway. "Everything okay, Miss Monroe?" Alicia nodded. "Yes, it's finally okay." They returned to the dining room, where Elliot Laurent stood waiting with a proud smile. "All settled?" he asked gently. Alicia smiled. "Yes. Sometimes you can't change what happened, but you can change how it ends." Laurent raised his glass again. "To new beginnings." Everyone in the room echoed the toast. Cameras flashed, applause filled the air, and Alicia felt tears threaten again, not from sadness this time, but from gratitude. As the evening drew to a close, Laurent approached her quietly. "You know, my wife used to say something," he said. "When the world shuts a door in your face, don't waste time knocking. Build your own door. You, Miss Monroe, just built one for others to walk through." Alicia's voice softened. "Then I guess this is just the beginning." Later that night, as she stood outside under the glowing city lights, the same black SUV idling behind her, Alicia looked up at the restaurant's golden sign, the one that had once symbolized rejection. Now it symbolized redemption. Her phone buzzed with a new message from Maya. "Girl, you're trending everywhere. Architect turned away from restaurant now, partners with its owner." "You did it." Alicia smiled through tears. "No," she whispered to herself. "We did it." She took one last look at Maison Leclerc, the place that had once thrown her out, then turned toward the SUV. Marcus opened the door and grinned. "Where to, Miss Monroe?" Alicia smiled, her eyes bright with hope. "Home. I've got blueprints to draw and a dream to build." As the car pulled away, the city lights danced across the windows, not as reminders of pain, but as reflections of victory. Because sometimes life gives you storms not to drown you, but to show you how strong you've always been. And, as Alicia disappeared into the night, one truth shimmered brighter than all the city lights combined. Kindness always comes back, multiplied.